They're all in the know. Pick some winners and then we say, let's go. So
Happy Hump Day. Welcome into a live edition of Betting Weekly Hardball. I'm Doug Kezirian alongside the white-hot Chris Macero. Solid show yesterday. Went into beast mode with the Bulls, so hopefully you can keep it up, Chris.
Yeah, yesterday was pretty nice. You know, we got a little nervous there with the Phillies after they blew that 4-1 lead, you know, late in the game, but they got the clutch 2-run homer, and you know, we were able to get that one done. The Yankees with the Malinsky special was easy peasy. A little bit of nerves in the early game with the Cubs Brewers. Cubs get that nice 5-0 lead. They actually, I was listening to the radio broadcast, and the announcers were saying that the wind kind of shifted towards right field. So that made me a little nervous because then Yelich went deep, and a couple other balls are tracking deep to right field. So, you know, the Brewers are one of those teams that just keep coming back all year, so you're never really safe. But very happy with those 3 games, and then the Reds came through and all the props came through. So exciting day yesterday.
A lot of good information, but we will turn the page, try to pick some winners today. Just a reminder, if you like what you hear on the shows, sign up for our newsletter. Get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. And again, that is free. It's Wednesday, so we have a lot of action going on right now. 3 games currently live. We have 2 2-1 scores and a 6-0 lead for the Tigers at home over the Astros with former Houston pitcher Charlie Morton on the bump for Detroit. He is pitching well. Valdez has just not been the same the last month or so. And Chris, it really started with that game in Fenway on a Sunday when he matched up with Lucas Giolito. Valdez just is not getting the strikeouts, not getting the outs. And I actually think this Cy Young race has become really interesting. Valdez was in the mix, but Skubal, that money line was certainly dropping, but he pitched great yesterday with 10 strikeouts. He's now back up to minus 500. So a lot of moving parts in terms of the futures. Also 3 games going on. Anything jump out to you right now in terms of live odds at Bet Rivers?
Not really live at the moment. I to your point about Valdez, I made notes about this game, and I wanted to pull the trigger on Detroit. I guess I just don't have that faith in Morton that some people do. He has pitched good lately, but to your point, Valdez has been rough the last 18 innings, 24 hits, 12 earned runs, and only 10 strikeouts. So something's going on with him. A lot of these big name pitchers are going through a little bit of a rut lately the past month or so. You know, some of the aces of a lot of team staffs just haven't been that ace. I guess you could probably look at maybe the Blue Jays coming back. You know, the Pirates. The Pirates probably won't put up any more runs. 2 runs is sometimes their max, and the Blue Jays bats have been clutch all year, especially in these spots when they're trailing. They've been able to tie the game up and win it. So, if anything, I'd probably look for a Blue Jays live. I did get in on the Phillies game earlier. I played them in a parlay with the Mets, which we can talk about a little bit later. I just feel like the Phillies are on one of those rolls. Seattle's been on a long East Coast road trip. This is their getaway day. One of those games where you probably get a lot of swings and misses. Phillies get up to an early lead, and the Mariners kind of throw in the towel. We'll see if they can hold on to it.
All right, they're through 3 innings in Philly. Phillies leading 2-1 as that game heads to the 4th inning. You mentioned the Pirates. They just had the bases chucked with 2 outs, leading 2-1 in the 5th, but no dice. So they've gone to the 6th. Blue Jays, as you mentioned, trailing 2-1 in Pittsburgh. The current live line is minus 186 in favor of the Buccos, over under 6.5. So 2-1 Pirates. So 3 total runs, over under 6.5 as they are in the 6th inning. Tigers are now going to the bottom of the 3rd. They lead 6-0. That is certainly a one-sided game. No money line offered right now, but there is a spread, -6, -109 for the Tigers in that regard. Quick mention of that AL Cy Young Award race. Skubal obviously pitched great. I mentioned the money line back up to -500. In case he comes back to, is Hunter Brown, who he faced yesterday, 20-1, worth a shot? Anyone else? Like, I don't know, Joe Ryan or Brian Wu?
I just feel like, and I mentioned this a couple times, Detroit usually doesn't come on Sunday Night Baseball, but the 2 times that Detroit did come on Sunday Night Baseball, he happened to pitch. He happened to pitch great, and I kind of feel like it's just his award. No one's really made a big stretch, a stretch run at him. He's been hanging around 11. He got he's been at 11 wins for seems like forever. I think 3 back he got a win. He doesn't have gaudy stats, and a lot of these pitchers, this day and age, they're not staying in the games long enough to get the win. Not saying that they don't go 5 innings, but maybe they pitch well and they come out in the 6th. Even though the team wins, the game might have been tied at the time. So you're not getting the gaudy win numbers. Obviously, he's got the strikeouts, the whip, the ERA. So I just feel like it's his award to lose. He's got the name recognition. He's been the best pitcher all year. He started the All-Star game. It'd be tough to get around, backing anyone else. It'd have to be a really, really big number. I don't think Hunter Brown, Joe Ryan, a Twins team that's, mired in just despair. I just don't see many other options. Crochet would be the only guy that could do it, but they've lost his last two starts, and it's just one of those things. He hasn't got the great run support either. Crochet definitely has the numbers, strikeout wise, ERA wise, a team in the race, but I really feel like it's Scooble's award this year.
All right. So it is a fickle market, these awards things. A lot can happen over the last month of the season, but to your point, Scooble's been pretty high profile all season. And we want to encourage you to join the conversation in the comments section here on the Bet Rivers Network for all of our shows under the Betting Weekly umbrella, but especially our show that we are Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Henry VIII joining in, and you said you couldn't pull the trigger on Morton with the Tigers. He says the Tigers were underdogs. I bet that as quick as I switch wives. So good sense of humor there. At home, no less. So the Tigers up 6-0 facing the Astros, but still a lot of baseball left out there in Detroit. Mariners and Phillies, you mentioned that game. They are underway in the top of the 4th. And the Blue Jays have a runner on with 1 out. So the Pirates still leading 2-1, top of the 6th. Let's check out some games coming up in a little bit. We have some high-profile games. You mentioned the Malinsky special in Florida against the Tampa Bay Rays, but not in Tampa. Rasmussen going for Tampa. Schlittler, the youngster, going for the Yanks, who have won 4 straight games. And Rays $1.15 at home. That feels like a cheap price for a distinct pitching edge in favor of the Rays. Chris, how are you seeing this?
Yeah, the only problem is the Yankees are hot now. The bats are on fire. They hit 9 home runs last night for the 2nd time this year, which is a ridiculous stat. That's their home. That's their home away from home too. That's their spring training site. First inning last night, the crowd was chanting "Let's go Yankees!" So there's not any home field advantage. Granted, Rasmussen has been on fire. Last 3 starts, 17 and a third, only 11 hits, only 1 earned run. Opponents batting 161 against him. He's been good against Judge. He's been good against most of this lineup. I just can't pull the trigger with Tampa Bay. That crazy long road trip. They have nothing to play for. They're kind of out of the mix now. But I'm not going to lay it with the Yankees either. Schlittler, not my cup of tea. He doesn't really go long in these games, and the Yankees bullpen has been a problem all year. I'm just going to stay away from the game. It would be Yankees or pass for me, just because they're on that winning streak. And I feel like, every team that's been in the playoff race this year, they've gone on some either a big streak of winning and losing, and it's just the way this baseball season has gone. And I feel like right now the Yankees are getting hot at the right time. They've won 4 in a row. And, I know Rasmussen's pretty good, but, the Tampa lineup doesn't scare me too much. It'd be Yankees or pass for me just because they're on the 4-game winning streak, but I'm not going to play the game.
From nearly 2 months since Rasmussen gave up more than 2 earned in a start, June 30th, and it was 4 earned at home. So it's been pretty impressive run. Now, he did have short stints in a couple starts, things like that. But he's been lights out this month and really July. So it's been a good run. His ERA for the season is 2.60. Now, he's not a huge strikeout guy. It's between 4, 5, and 6. So I was looking at some strikeouts and nothing special. Over 4.5 minus 186. So not really in a rush to bet something along those lines. So maybe we'll come back to this game. But you're right. It's tough to bet against a lineup that's been really hot, all things considered. Now, I was looking at the under in the Blue Jays Pirates game because that 6.5 was sort of an interesting number. Double play ball to end of the top of the 6, so it's now 5.5. So not in a rush to buy that one. So let's move on. So Yankees, no play for us in that game in Florida. Interesting pitching matchup with the Cubs, who got the sweep of a doubleheader yesterday. So Brewers coming back to life. Cubs got them, but the Cubs unders are just hitting. How about this month, Chris? You talk about streaks and trends. 15-2-1 in the month of August to the under. So only 2 games involving the Cubs have gone over this entire month. One was yesterday in that game 1. Mizorowski, the youngster, going for Milwaukee. Ray going for the Cubbies. Any read here for the Cubs? It's basically a coin flip game here with the money line.
Yeah, it would be Cubs for me if I was going to play the Cubs side. I got in on the under earlier today. I saw that stat you sent over, 15-2 to the under. And what's been going on at Wrigley is the wind has been, for an extended period of time earlier in the summer, the wind was blowing out at almost every game. Well, now in this month, the wind has been blowing in almost every game. And that's when the announcers made that point yesterday that the wind had switched to be blowing to right field. It immediately opened the game up for an over. You know, it was 5-0 at the time. The total was 8.5 when the announcers made that mention. And next thing you know, Yelich hits a ball out. Then there was another batter went to right field, and that ball went out. And the game ended up going over. But that's one of only, like you said, 2 Cubs games that have gone over all year. So what do we have today? I checked it earlier. They said a strong wind will be blowing in. Now, if Mizorowski was what he was at the beginning of the season or when he first came up, I would be a lot stronger on this under. I'm just not sure after the last start. He only pitched 1 1/3, 4 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks. So that's not exactly something you want to hang your hat on with an under. But I'm gonna bet that he regroups. Ray's been pretty solid as well, and if we have a strong wind blowing in, there's a good chance that this game's going to go under. I grabbed 7. There was some big juice early on it, but that 7's a big difference in 6.5. I don't want to lose 4-3. I'd rather obviously get a push there. So I'm going to be on under in this game tonight.
Well, you can adjust it at Bet Rivers in the all or the game lines page, so you can adjust it to 7. It's -130 for under 7. As Chris said, it's a big number in totals because of obviously a 3-3 game. You can get a push instead of a loss. And this is expected to be a tight game. Mizorowski and the Brewers a slight favorite at -113. You mentioned his last game didn't quite get there. He's now 24-1 to win the NL Rookie of the Year, which has had some movement in that market, a couple in the co-favorite kind of status. So you like Mizorowski, you want to back him, or you just like in the under? Would you take under 7 -130?
Yeah, I got in at -125. I could co-sign on -130. I think the win there is just a huge factor, especially at a night game. Ball is not going to be traveling well. If the wind's whipping in, all the fly balls are going to go to die. So I'm going to be on under in this game. I would tend to lean the Cubs. You know, the Brewers went on that long streak. I mentioned on the show yesterday, it's about time that they're going to lose. They're going to lose 4 or 5 in a row before the end of the season. Maybe it happens right now. You know, they didn't lose a game for 2 weeks, and then yesterday they lose 2 games in one day. So that's just baseball. You know, it's a crazy sport, and crazy things happen like that. You see something new you don't see every day. And I'd be on Cubs, but I'm not gonna play the Cubs. I'm gonna just be on the under.
All right. Good stuff. Keeping it moving here. Dodgers, Rockies. Dodgers got a rare, comfortable rocking chair win yesterday at Coors Field, blowout city, and they're big favorites again. Yesterday in the -300 range, now 335 currently at Bet Rivers, over under of 12. Ohtani going for LA, and for the Rockies, it's Tanner Gordon. This season can't end soon enough for Colorado. Run line -220. You don't see that very often. -1.5 and -220. Chris, I think it's safe to say you're not going to get rich laying a 1.5 and 220 very often.
Well, you're definitely not going to get rich doing that when Ohtani starts. I mean, everyone is just worshiping this guy. I guess he's going to be the MVP. He doesn't pitch more than 4 innings. Last game, he pitched 4 1/3. That was the most he's pitched all year. A total of 23 1/3 innings all year. In his last 5 starts, the record is their team record is 2-3, and they've lost 5 of his last 7 starts. And it's not because he's pitched bad. It's because the bullpen comes in, and they waste the bullpen with this experiment of getting him out there. Hopefully, he's going to stretch out a little bit longer for their sake, and he's going to be able to pitch, a regular start in the playoffs, because if they keep going on with this, 3-4 inning nonsense, it's just destroying their bullpen. And it's probably the only thing that's keeping the Dodgers close to the Padres. I just feel like, I know they're not going to send him to the minor leagues to stretch out. So it's probably the only way to do it because they need the bat in the lineup. But this would be Colorado or pass. Now, hear me out. Gordon is terrible. 7.98 ERA, 3-2, 5.54 at home. But his last start, he pitched okay, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs versus Arizona. The 3 previous starts were absolutely probably the worst 3 starts you could possibly have. 10 1/3, 31 hits, 23 earned runs, 3 home runs, an ERA of 20.03. But the start before that, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs versus St. Louis. So maybe he finds it. I mean, the guy obviously has some sort of talent, pitched 2 good games, bookended by 3 horrendous games. The Dodgers lineup, hot last night, cold the night before. I couldn't lay it with Ohtani. He's going to pitch, 4 innings, and then you bring in relievers in Colorado. This would be Colorado or pass. I may get involved in the over. I had the over last night. That came in pretty easily. It just seems like when Ohtani pitches, the bullpen is a major factor, and the game's a tendency to go over. And the Dodgers don't always win the games he starts. So, like I said, 2-5 the last 7 of his starts when Ohtani's out there. So I would be Colorado, and I'd be on the over. No, I haven't played it yet, but those are my leans.
It's the bullpen that you get. So not a first 5 over. You'd look at the game over because the bullpen comes early. It's going to be one of those ring around the road, the merry-go-round kind of thing on the base path.
Yeah, I mean, even last night, the Rockies got their share of runs. Dodgers are probably going to hit. Yeah, the Dodgers are probably going to win the game. But what are they, minus 335? I mean, how can they be minus 3? I know it's Colorado, but they're minus 335. Last 7 starts by Ohtani, the Dodgers are 2-5. So that number seems completely out of whack for me. It would be Rockies or pass on that side, and definitely on the over, because even if Ohtani pitches 4 scoreless, you figure maybe the Dodgers have a lead, but I'm just not comfortable handing the ball over to anyone in the Dodgers bullpen, and I'm sure that's how they're feeling headed into the postseason, because this bullpen has been a train wreck, and all the back end guys have either been not very good or injured. So we'll see what happens coming to the playoff time. I know they got the 2-game lead over the Padres. We'll see if they can hold on to that. As we speak, the Phillies tack on another run. So 3-1 Phillies, bottom of the 4th.
Oh, nice. Look, you're doing it all, Chris. And by the way, there was another Julio Rodriguez base running blunder in that game, which is just pulling the hair out for Mariners fans. So bottom 4, 3-1 now, Phillies. The Tigers added a run to go up 7-0, but the Astros have answered back, getting to Charlie Morton for the first time. So it's 2 spots. So it's 7-2 in the 4th inning. Pirates have a guy on first with 2 outs, bottom 6. So that under is at least trending that direction. But just going back to the Dodgers, so that money line's more of a money line against Colorado than it is for Ohtani. But he did pitch better in the last game, went into the 5th. Little different situation, but sometimes we're just priced out of it, and that seems to be the case there. Nationals and Mets. Mets are road chalk here, and it's understandable. They're minus $1.75 at Bet Rivers, over under at 9. Senga's going for New York, and Brad Lord is going for Washington, and he's been pretty solid of late. He's given up 1, 2, or 3 runs in the last 5 starts, but it's been a little shaky. Not a lot of strikeouts. So you wonder if there's a luck factor involved that's going to rear its ugly head. I am leaning to the Mets run line, actually. I think it could be some crooked numbers here. The Mets lineup is getting hot. Minus 1.5 is on only 107. I'm waiting to hear from you, though, Chris. See what you see. What do you have in this game?
Yeah, well, I played a parlay with Phillies and the Mets earlier, so I'm on the Mets, winners of 3 in a row. I was going to be on the Mets yesterday. I just didn't have the faith in Peterson on the road. He's been very shaky on the road. He's been excellent at home. I should have went with my gut instinct. The Mets are just one of those teams, very streaky. They had that big 7 or 8 game winning streak. They go out west, they lose 7 8 in a row. They ended up losing 10 of 12. Well, now they're winning again. They don't have a good road record, but the Nats have a terrible home record, and the Nats seem to give up a lot of runs at home. They're only 24-39 as a home team. Lord has pitched good, only 11 starts. He's got a small sample size versus the Mets, 3 of 14 with the opposing hitters. I don't know. Senga's been pretty solid, and especially on the road. 2.19 ERA. Hasn't got a lot of run support, I don't think run support will be a problem tonight. I think the Mets lineup is starting to hit. I joked with the bull yesterday. I was talking to a Mets fan yesterday. He said all the other teams have already peaked. They've already peaked too early, and that the Mets are going to peak at late August and early September, ride it right into the playoffs. So maybe he's right. Maybe they're getting hot at the right time. I really like Senga. I don't expect him to give up much against a weak-hitting Nationals lineup, and I'm gonna ride the Mets. 3 winners of 3 in a row. Nats lost 2 in a row. Good spot for the Mets.
All right. I'm going to do the run line. Good to get your opinion on that. -1.5, -107. Hopefully that bullpen doesn't get a little too shaky, but I think the Mets are going to put up some serious runs. I like them here, -1.5, -107. I mentioned the Astros got on the board. I should mention it also snapped their streak of 31 straight scoreless innings. That is a drought with all the swing path and exit velo analytics and everything. Teams are scoring runs when you least expect it. So they're on the board against Morton 7-2. We know one of our audience members is on the Tigers at plus money, Henry VIII. He was an advocate of back in Detroit, especially at home, plus money. So we both like the Mets, playing it a little differently. Now, it's sometimes the card just doesn't work out your way. There's tough matchups. You know, sometimes you have 2 pitchers going that you want to bet on. Sometimes you have pitchers you want to bet against going against one another, and it can be a wonky card. Any other games that really stand out? I mean, we're only a portion of the way through the show, but I didn't love any games in particular. I like how yesterday's show you mentioned the Padres need to win that game or they should shut down the season. Well, they did win 5-1, I believe, was the final score. How about the next game of this matchup with the Padres hosting the Giants? Pods are -162 at home. And the pitching matchup, I'm not sure it favors San Diego here like it did yesterday. Sears is going, the newly acquired Sears from the Athletics is going against Roop, who we've talked about on the show, has good stuff, but just walks a lot of guys, can be erratic.
Yeah, you could say newly acquired from the Athletics, but he's been the last 2 weeks. He's been down in AAA. So he came over. He pitched 1 game. It was a horrendous start for the Padres. This guy he just pitches. There's too much contact. I can't back him. I'm not a fan of the Giants right now either. In this spot, they're kind of just playing out the string. The only thing I can say is they try to want to be a spoiler to the Padres, and the Giants usually do bring a lot of fans down to Petco at this time of year. So it's one of those games. I'm gonna stay away. I'm rooting for the Padres obviously because I have my division futures and we have our division futures. But I mean, what a stressful and just typical Padre weekend, and then to come out on Monday night and lay another egg. It's just such a typical Padres, and it's just so frustrating, living in San Diego and so many people who've never had anything to cheer about, no championships ever. Chargers gone, Padres, whatever, 64 years of futility. Can't even, and to do it to the Dodgers on the biggest weekend of the year, and everyone's, jacked up about it. They finally grabbed the lead in the division. And then to lose 4 straight. And thank God they won last night because that 10 guy, he really shouldn't be in the league. But tonight, I can't get behind Sears. I just can't do it. Maybe this is an over type of what do we have? Over under 8. You have to it's tough in the Marine layer in San Diego in the night games to get an over, but tonight I might have to look at an over because Sears is just he's not the type of guy you want to be pitching in a must-win type of game.
Oh, it's good background. Very good, thorough analysis. Sometimes you just got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, right? Like that's the key in a lot of these games. By the way, another scoreless inning in Pittsburgh. They go to the 7th now. Pirates had 2 on, but do not score. It's 2-1 still. The Buccos with the lead. I've been staring at this over/under that I liked, and it's now 5.5. You know what? I'm going to pull the trigger here. 5.5 under 136. I think that's a play. So that's another official play on a live bet. I like my live bets on this show. So why not? They all cash the same, right? So under 5.5 -136. Of course, it's going to land 6 because I was looking at 6.5 forever. But I just think the Pirates aren't scoring again. Blue Jays may win 3-2. Get the later innings. The Pirates' good arms, quote unquote, good arms in their bullpen should be effective. Pirates did get 2 on and 2 out in the last half inning, but did not score. We're still 3-1 in Philly. That's in the 5th, still 7-2. in Detroit. That's gone to the bottom of the fourth. Tigers have the leadoff runner on first base. Some interesting, 14's the total right now in Detroit. It's 7-2. So 5 more runs. Sometimes these things just get away from teams and they go skyrocket, or the bats go quiet, settle down. So kind of I'm in between there. But let's check in on a team that's been red hot. Royals have won 5 straight. They've won 8 of 10. They're trying to close ground in their division, but they can't make any ground on the Tigers, who've been also on a roll. Noah Cameron, the youngster, goes for Kansas City. He's been pretty solid, all things considered, as a 2.5 ERA. Royals are minus 129 on the money line at Bet Rivers with the Rangers in town. And undecided starting pitcher for Texas. For me, and I would assume you feel this way, Chris, because the price is pretty low, but it's Royals or pass. I do like Cameron at times. But I'm assuming it's a nobody pitching for the Rangers, but I like the 129, all things considered.
Yeah, it seems pretty cheap considering Texas is in a free fall. I just looked up at the standings a little while ago. I can't believe it. Texas is 3 games under 500 for a team that was supposed to, one of the top choices in the American League to make it to the World Series this year. It's kind of a shocking number. And I mentioned it on the show yesterday, and I would have pulled the trigger with Kansas City, but I just couldn't trust Lugo after I played Lugo the last two starts, and he's been, he was a disaster. He gave up that grand slam in the first inning last week to the Nationals. Pitched pretty good last night, got the win, and they're on a nice run, 5-game winning streak. Texas has been so bad on the road, 25-39, 14 games under 500. And Kansas City's, they got it going a little bit here, 5-game winning streak. Cameron's been solid, 2.81 ERA at home. It would definitely be Royals or pass. I'm not going to get involved with Texas. I'd like to see who the starting pitcher is, though, before. But although if you can get it now, you would assume the price would only go up if they name somebody as an opener or someone, from the minors who hasn't pitched yet. And if you look through the schedule today, and I was messaging you earlier today, just how many bad pitchers or major league debuts. There's not. Besides Ohtani, there's not many aces out there. Kikuchi's pitching, but a lot of high ERAs and just questionable guys who've had minimal starts this year. It's really tough to find or really feel solid about many plays today.
Yeah, you mean that game in Miami not catching your attention with Alcantara going for the Marlins in his 6.3 ERA and Palante going for the Cardinals with his ERA over 5. That didn't really catch your attention. It's only over/under is only 8.5 when you factor in these ERAs.
Yeah, I wanted to be on St. Louis, but Alcantara, he's been testing my patience. He's either he gives up 6 runs in the first, or he had the Red Sox mesmerized last week. He'd only I think he got. He did get hit at the end. He got through the 6th inning, had a bad inning, but the first 5 innings he'd given up like 1 hit. He was striking everyone out. I'm like, who the heck is this guy? He's been Jekyll and Hyde all year, so he's tough to back, and you sometimes get afraid going against him because he shows up in his previous Cy Young type of status. But I wanted to be on St. Louis. They've won a couple in a row. It's a cheap price. You're getting a dog because Alcantara's pitching. There's that aspect that he could be good. The Marlins, the Marlins are better on the road than they play at home. That's a weird thing too. It's probably because there's 600 people in the stands. So I don't know. It would be Cardinals or pass for me. I haven't made a play on the game yet.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Alcantara sometimes does test your patience. And I said a second ago, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Like, you're not going to lose what you don't put in. And I'm all for being aggressive, right? You can't be afraid to lose a wager. Obviously, there's a scenario where the wager doesn't win, but you're betting it because you like it. And if you think there's value, it's a good play, but you can't force it either. And I always use kind of a rule of thumb is telling myself or asking myself, how dumb will I feel if I bet this and lose it? It's like, I know Alcantara has been shaky all year. Why am I trying to catch the falling knife? There's no need to do it. So if you don't like it, you don't like it. Tigers, they're through 4. So it's now, it remains 7-2. I mentioned that over under getting pretty high at 15 or 14, I believe it was. It's now 13 on the nose. So they go to the 5th inning in Detroit. Tigers lead 7-2. I'm trying to think of games that, the Braves have sort of turned it around. I mean, they're not as terrible as they once were, but the money line pricing is pretty high, all things considered. They're a sizable favorite at home tonight, minus 205 at Bet Rivers. Now, the White Sox are in town, and they've been really bad this season, so I can certainly understand it. I mean, the White Sox are 36 games under 500. So, I mean, that's not good. The Rockies are giving it perspective because the Rockies are 54 games under 500.
Well, last night, I'm not sure if you caught it, but it was 10-4 White Sox late in the game. I had a little small play on the White Sox. I got out of it live and ended up, splitting the difference a little bit. But I mean, the Braves are just, you can't back them, especially as a favorite. Last night, I know they got the job done, but they were minus 170 with Cal Elder pitching it, which made no sense to me. And it didn't make sense until the end of the game when they got, they pushed across all those runs late. But I would have to be on the White Sox or pass here. The good news for the Braves, this Waldrop, 3 starts, 1.02 ERA, 17 2/3 innings pitched, only 9 hits, only 2 earned runs, no home runs. So he's been really solid, but I could never lay minus 205. I'm just not going to be betting, what's the old saying? Don't expect bad teams to do good things or something like that. And I mean, and to pay 205 to see a bad team do something good, I'm okay with that. I'll be more than happy to pass on this game.
Well, you did yesterday with the White Sox. You expected a bad team to do well, and they were up 10-4, but you laid off. Braves did answer with 7 runs combined in the 7th and 8th innings to get the dramatic win. I kind of like the Braves today. I really do. I know they've been bad, and they've been a money pit as well. I think they're the second worst team if you bet them every game this season, behind only the Colorado Rockies. But this should be an easy Braves win, no?
Yeah, but there's nothing that's been easy with the Braves this year. I mean, they're not a good team, and to lay 2. The only reason I played a little bet on the White Sox is because Elder is terrible, and I was getting nice plus money. How could you lay minus 170 with the Braves? I mentioned it on the show yesterday. Granted, they came back and won. I mean, you could have done all sorts of things. You could have taken, if I was really on top of it, I should have had a lot more. I should have made money on the Braves coming back, but it's fine. I just can't lay these big numbers. Braves are just not a good team. They're barely 500 at home. The only good news for them is that the White Sox are terrible on the road, only 19 wins. Even the Rockies have 20 wins. Actually, no, the Rockies have 20 wins at home. Excuse me. They do not have 20 wins on the road. So White Sox yet to get their 20th win on the road, but their bats have been fine. I mean, they scored all those runs last night. So they could definitely put up a big crooked number tonight. And next thing you know, you're laying 2. My point is, for anyone betting on the game, how can you possibly lay 205 with the Atlanta Braves? They might win, fine, but at least if you're going to lay 205, pick a team that's good. Like today, the game's not over, but the Phillies were only minus like 132 or something or less. You could have found less. I mean, the Phillies are a good team. They're great at home. So I'm just saying, if you're betting on a baseball game, try to find the parameters that make sense. The Braves are barely 500 at home. They're not good all year. They're pitching a young starter who has been good so far, but he's only pitched 3 games. So now they get a little more information on him. The White Sox bats have been hot. I'm not suggesting bet the White Sox. I'm just saying be cautious when you're laying $2 in a baseball game.
Yeah, and the old thing is you got to win 2 out of 3 just to break even, right? I mean, that's the key. So keep that in mind. It's just really hard. I mean, even when you're laying $1.60, $1.50, you got to win a lot just to break even and make it worth your while. So that's the juice sort of in the back of your head if you're not a math guy doing your own projections, things along those lines. Henry VIII chiming in again in the comment section. The Braves are still making deals. They claimed Jake Fraley. So, Braves aren't just packing it in. I guess that's a good sign for their fan base, just to stay relevant, things along those lines. Adam Osimo asking us for thoughts on the Reds Angels game. I like Cincinnati, I think. Now, you were on Cincinnati yesterday, if I remember correctly. Martinez going for the Reds, Kikuchi going for the home team, the Halos, and he's been touched up a lot lately. I like the over, if anything, in this game, but the problem with the Angels is, they got some pop. They're feast or famine, but sometimes it's famine. And so with an over-under of 9, I don't love the Reds lineup. It's not terrible, but Kikuchi could give up 4. They lose 6-3, 6-2. It just I'm not in a rush to bet this.
Yeah, I'm on the Reds tonight. I'm going to go back to the well. Last night was great. It was a perfect matchup. Hunter Green, strikeout pitcher versus the highest strikeout hitting team in baseball, the Angels, and that came through. I mentioned you could ladder it all the way up from 7.5 all the way to over 10. That was as high as you could get. He got 12 strikeouts. You were getting plus 300 at 10 or more. So hopefully some people will jump aboard that. Ke'Bryan Hayes got a hit. Andujar had a bunch of hits. So, they went over their hit props. Andujar went over everything, his total bases, his RBIs, his hits, everything. So there's a couple of good guys there in the lineup tonight. Ke'Bryan Hayes is also 3 for 5 with a home run against Kikuchi. So someone you might want to look at again. But I'm going to be on the Reds. I like the look I saw at Terry Francona in the dugout last night. This Reds team is getting hot at the right time. They're only one game out of the wild card behind the Mets. And I feel like they played a bunch of tough games in a row. They handled it pretty well. They played the Phillies, the Brewers. They were in every single game. Now they get a little bit weaker opponent out in Southern California. And Nick Martinez hasn't been great all year, but he's very familiar against pitching in LA. What am I calling it? The Big A at Anaheim there. They had a lot of interleague battles between the Padres and Angels. They were one of their common opponent teams. So he's going to be fine up there. And, Kikuchi, there's some weird stats that he pitches good on Wednesdays or something crazy, but I'm going to go with the Reds. The Reds have won 3 in a row. They're 500 on the road. Angels have lost 2 in a row. I'm just going to keep riding the streak. I think the Reds are hitting at the right time. They're confident. They're getting a lot out of their role players. And I think the boost of Hunter Green coming back last week has really uplifted this team. And I think they're gonna push the Mets really hard for that last wild card spot. So I'm on the Reds tonight. You can get plus money on a team that's better than the Angels, playing better at the moment, and I think they get the job done tonight for their 4th straight win.
Right, so you're on the Reds plus money at Bet Rivers. It's plus 110. Keeping an eye on other games going on. The Astros trying to make some more noise, get back into the game, 2nd and 3rd in the 5th inning with 1 out, but they get another out without anybody scoring. Charlie Morton's now 1 out away from getting out of the jam. Phillies looking to extend their lead. They have runners on the corners with 2 outs in the 5th. They currently lead 3-1. Pirates got the leadoff batter on in the bottom of the 7th, and then a double play ball. So now it's a walk, and it's a runner on first. Still 2-1, bottom 7, but 2 out. So we're keeping an eye on these games. Obviously, the odds are adjusting, and it's kind of fun to track, all things considered. We mentioned that Tigers-Astros game, the over-under at Bet Rivers Live fluctuating between 14 and 13. It's now 12.5. So the Tigers get out of that jam. Morton gets out of the jam, and they go to the bottom half of the 5th. Tigers still leading 7-2. Chris, any final parting shots here, whether it be the in-game, the live look-ins, or other games we have going on?
I will say one guy that does hit Nick Martinez fairly well is Mike Trout, 6 for 22 with 2 home runs. So maybe if you did something where you got Trout and Ke'Bryan Hayes and the Reds win, maybe in the same game parlay, I might dabble in something like that a little bit later. As for the rest of the games, nothing really stands out. I mean, like I said, there was some really weak pitching matchups today. Some guys that just haven't even pitched, like this Cleveland-Arizona game. You got Brandon Pfaadt, 12-8, 5.08 ERA. Do you want to back him or do you want to back Parker Messick from Cleveland, who's making his major league debut? He's just like one of those, you don't know what's going to happen type of games. We both kind of leaned to the over there last night. It went over. Maybe we lean towards the over there again. It seems like both teams are hitting pretty well. I'm just not sure what Parker Messick's going to be bringing to the table. Brandon Pfaadt hasn't been too much of anything positive of late. Big ERA. And the opponents, the only one good thing is the opponents aren't hitting that well. Only 6 for 26 at 231. So I don't know. There's it's just not the exciting card that it was yesterday. I'm sure we'll make do with what we have, but at the moment, nothing else jumping out in my attention.
All right, good stuff. Pirates may be stringing together a run or so because they've had a little 2-out rally after the walk. You get a base knock, so runners on the corners for Pittsburgh, leading 2-1, bottom 7. But 2 outs in that, and they've had bases loaded a few innings ago, things like that. So we'll see if the Pirates can actually break through. Just a reminder, we mentioned all these games going on. We also have a nice special for you. Get up to a 100% profit boost on your MLB same game parlay today. Opt in at Bet Rivers and get your MLB midweek profit boost on any same game parlay with odds of plus 100 or longer. Check the Bet Rivers app for full details. So that's going to do it for this live edition of Betting Weekly Hardball. We always appreciate you chiming in and checking in on things. There's a lot going on, and we have great interaction with everyone on the chat section, the comment section. So we appreciate it. So until tomorrow, where we are Monday through Friday, Betting Weekly Hardball, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We also have Betting Weekly Fast Break. That's coming up top of the hour. I am not on the show. Sarah will be hosting that, but one game in the W. They'll also look into some futures, some adjusted win totals, some other futures prices, the MVP race. Asia Wilson, now the second favorite, leapfrogging Alyssa Thomas. So a lot of moving parts right now with less than a month to go in the regular season. For Chris Macero and everyone behind the scenes who does such an awesome job making it all look so good, I'm Doug Kezirian. Best of luck out there, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.